What's going on, folks? So, today I'm going to be talking about the new upcoming remastered album from the band Ethereal Dawn. The name of this album is The Moonlight of Gloom. And like I said, this is remastered. It's a remastered version of the debut album released back in 2015. This is like reworked and what have you. But before I get into that nitty gritty, y'all know the deal by now. So let's check out the cover. Boom. There it is. Take a look at that bad boy. Really like this cover. I love the way Ethereal Dawn is stylized there at the top and Moonlight of Gloom down below. And you got this person standing there cloaked kind of, and it's just really kind of regal where it looks like there's like some little intricate designs there. It's kind of got like a purple hue, and the designs have a bit like a gold kind of look to it. Looks really, really neat, almost like they're wearing a crown as well. And you see the moon up there. The sky has just really nice colors there, and these like roses and whatnot. And then right there at the center is some kind of like, it looks like a mystic symbol of some kind with a rose contained in there. It's like they're holding this thing, and it just has this real kind of ethereal, magical fantasy quality to this cover, with the design and the colors. And I really, really dig it. It just looks really nice. It looks really, really cool. So yeah, big fan of the cover here. I think they did a really, really nice job. It definitely kind of stands out. I feel like if you're looking through albums at a record shop or whatnot, and you see this, you'd be like, oh, this looks kind of interesting, but as far as like I really like the cover, but does it properly convey the music contained, within? Like, if you never heard of this band before and you see this cover, you're like, oh, this looks kind of interesting. Does it properly convey the music style for you, if you never heard it? And I think so. I definitely think so. It's definitely a very symphonic looking cover. It definitely conveys a kind of like a fantastical, magical kind of symphonic metal sort of vibe, and even with the power metal vibes as well. So it definitely conveys the style. So you would not be disappointed, I think, if you saw this cover. Oh man, this looks cool. I think this looks like a symphonic, fantasy metal kind of vibe. You'd get home and you would not be disappointed with the sound. So all around, I think they did a great job with this cover. So I dig it. Now for the album itself, this bad boy's got 13 tracks on it. Comes in at about 54 minutes. So definitely a solid runtime. You definitely would get your money's worth, for buying this thing. And the last couple tracks 12 and 13, are kind of alternate versions of earlier tracks in the album. So they're kind of like bonus tracks, if you will. So the album proper has like 11 tracks if you don't count those two kind of alternate bonus tracks. But I still highly recommend those bonus tracks. They bring a new element to the songs. The alternate versions bring a nice new element to those songs that are definitely worth a listen. But they're kind of bonus, what have you. So, I mean, the sound on this thing, like I already said, it's definitely a very kind of fantasy symphonic power metal with a heavy focus on like orchestrations and the symphonic elements. That's really what kind of drives this album. The orchestrations are just wonderful. Just the arrangements and everything, so well done. Really kind of takes you to this other world, that this feeling, because it's imbued with this magical fantasy kind of element, and it has a very grand scope and feel to it. So you just get swept away in the sound, and it's just done wonderfully. So that's really kind of the heart and soul of the album, in my opinion, is those symphonic elements, the orchestrations and arrangements of those. And it's just done wonderfully. Just all of the different sounds, and it just again conjures feelings and emotions, and just in a grand kind of setting and scope. So it just lends itself to that the fantasy side of this thing. And I mean, you name it. I mean, there's strings and all kinds of stuff. There's glorious, wonderful piano moments, and then, more kind of keyboard kind of sounds. But you definitely get that orchestral element in there. And it's just sweeping, and sometimes it's more atmospheric, and it just runs the gamut of just sounds and styles and what it conjures. But it really, really drives the album and sets the stage for everything, really. But you also get some nice guitar work in there. You get some good riffs, some nice guitar melodies. I don't want to discount the guitars, because they're also present and also do a really solid job. I really like some of the melodies, and it just adds a nice extra element. Really adds the metal element, if you will, whereas the symphonics, really create the mood and really kind of direct the songs, the direction of how they go and all of that. Whereas the guitar is kind of there grounding, it's like a grounding element, and it provides the metal, but also just, kind of a solid foundation, where the symphonics kind of have no chains, they just really kind of weave this wonderful tapestry of sound and emotion. But yeah, the guitar is really well done. All the musicianship is just on point. But again, I can't overstate how lovely and how just intricate the symphonic elements and the orchestrations. Just such loving care clearly went into those elements. It's just very, very noticeable, and that's why I really say it's kind of the heart and soul of the album. But you definitely get that metal side, predominantly with the guitar work and all of that. And the vocals, do a really, really great job. I'm trying to think of the proper word to describe the vocals, because they're, I don't want to say like delicate or, maybe slightly reserved. Like they're not in your face or anything. There's a great range. And you have like some guest vocalists that do sections as well. And I found it very interesting, because some of these guest vocalists like Tommy Johansson and Fabio Lione and stuff, these are some real powerhouse vocalists. But within the context of this album, it's really cool, because even their vocal delivery feels more in line with just the nature of this album. They're not so, I mean, there's a lot of power behind their voice, of course, but it feels contained, like I said, within the context and the mood of the album itself. And, there's some soaring moments. There's some real, grand vocal moments and things, but it all feels very controlled. And I really like that, because on this album, it really lets the symphonic elements kind of soar, and the vocals are there. And like I said, there's grand moments and things like that, but there's like a nice quality to the vocals that keeps it from just, like I said, being too in your face, or really kind of stealing the focus away from the orchestrations. And I thought that was really cool. And it lends a different kind of quality to the album, and it almost makes it feel kind of like a storybook, if you will, where the vocals aren't really reaching out and grabbing you and pulling you and say, hey, listen to me. It's kind of like they're there kind of telling this story, but without taking away from the story being told with the music. It's there, it's part of it, but it doesn't just overtake that. And I thought that was very interesting, and it lends itself very well, for the album as a whole, and the feeling of just the story being told throughout this album. So just a lot of care went into every little detail on this album, and it's just evident when listening to it. So like I said, all this stuff kind of comes together and just crafts a very, very nice piece. of music throughout the whole album. And again, it's kind of like a storybook quality, and found that to be really, really neat. And it's a very pleasant album to listen to, with grand moments, with more melancholic moments, but, it's definitely grand in scope, across the album. And, I just love the melodies and just the music. And again, it has a very organic way of flowing, and it just really kind of takes you away into another world, with that magical fantasy quality. So I thought it was all put together very, very nicely. It's very fun and easy to listen to. It's engaging, and it's an escape, if you will, while you're kind of listening to it. So it's just super from beginning to end. There's not like any real moments where it feels like the quality drops. It's just very well put together, from beginning to end. The whole thing. It just, there's no filler. It just is it feels like it all belongs there, and it all works together very well. And there's some songs on here too that are instrumentals, which add to that kind of fantasy element. Like track 1, the intro track, I believe track 8, Cold, and the last couple tracks before the bonus tracks, track 10 and 11, are like instrumentals that just evoke, nice feelings. I really enjoyed the vocals, the vocal melody, especially in the chorus. There's some real nice anthemic, melodic elements in the choruses, and the verses do a solid job as well. It's just, I can't overstate, it's just put together very, very well, and I was quite impressed. I enjoyed this thing from beginning to end, and I highly recommend it to any symphonic metal fans, power metal fans, any fans of fantasy metal, things like that. It really would not disappoint. It's certainly of a very, very high quality. That, like I said, I went into this thing not quite fully sure what to expect, from a full album, and I just enjoyed it from beginning to end. It's just very, very well done. One of the standout tracks for me is track 3, Break Us. Really, really love the melody, like in the chorus. It's got this nice rhythmic sort of quality to it. It's one of my favorite songs on the album. But track 5, Burning Embers, is another one that really kind of stood out to me. But everything works together very well. It feels, if you were listening to it and not really looking at the tracks as they changed, or, you didn't really have the pauses between songs, it just all can kind of work together as one complete work, instead of just individual songs, kind of being different or whatnot. It just comes together very well all the way throughout. And like I said, from beginning to end, I really, really enjoyed it. So, yeah, and I failed to mention earlier, this remastered version of this album comes out this Friday, May 17th. So, very, very soon, and I can't recommend it enough, truly. And I didn't listen to the debut album, the pre-remastered version, so I don't really have anything to compare this one to. But as this stands, listening to this, I really, really liked it. There's a lot here. I'm very, very impressed with the talent. I look forward to, things that Ethereal Dawn releases in the future. There's a lot of promise here. And yeah, that's my thoughts. And if you ask me, well, tell me one song to listen to decide if I want to hear the whole album or not, I would say go with track 3, Break Us. I think that's a great introduction to the album, and there's a lot to love there, and it captures a lot of the essence that's contained within the whole album. So if you listen to that song, it will give you a good idea of what the whole album contains. And I think that if you listen to that song, you would definitely be like, yeah, let me check out this whole album. And yeah, that's what I recommend. Just check out this album. You can't go wrong. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the new remastered version of Ethereal Dawn's debut album, The Moonlight of Gloom, which drops this Friday, May 17th. Check it out. really, really solid stuff that I enjoyed quite a bit. So let me know, folks, in the comments down below. Did you listen to the 2015 debut version of this album? Are you looking forward to this new remastered version, or have you not listened to this band before? Are you going to check them out? Once you've heard the remastered version, come back here and let me know in the comments what you all thought of it. And yeah, we'll talk about that good stuff. But anywho, that's that. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time. Ranger, out.